Hello and welcome to episode 12 of The Weekly Wash. For those of you that don't know, The Weekly Wash is a video newsletter where each week I share 3 recommendations of things that have added value to my life. Now, this week the recommendations slightly follow the same theme, which you'll come to discover by the end of the video. So recommendation number 1 today is a book by a guy called James Nestor, and that book is called Breath. And for such a vital component of the biological system that keeps us alive, we pay bizarrely little attention to our breath. And in Breath, the book, we follow James on his personal journey as he learns how to breathe more effectively and more efficiently, learning how to utilize the versatility of the breathing apparatus that we have been provided with. I really enjoyed reading Breath, and I found that it had way more to teach me than I had expected when I went into the book. So what James does at the very beginning of the book is he starts with an experiment where him and a guy called Anders decide that they want to explore the detrimental effects that breathing through your mouth alone will have on the human body. And so what they do is they actually plug up their nostrils completely for 10 days straight, where they only breathe through their mouths. As you can imagine, based on the fact that they thought there might be consequences, negative consequences to breathing through the mouth only, by the end of the study, they found some fascinating, if not slightly scary, effects that this sole mouth breathing had on them. So James reports just halfway through, with 5 days, just 5 days of breathing through his mouth, he reports that my blood pressure has spiked by an average of 13 points from where it was before the test. This state of chronically raised blood pressure can cause heart attacks, strokes, and other serious problems. Meanwhile, my heart rate variability, a measure of nervous system balance, has plummeted, suggesting that my body is in a state of stress. Then there's my pulse, which has increased, and my body temperature, which has decreased, and my mental clarity, which has hit rock bottom. And that sounds like a nightmare to me, because what little mental clarity that I do have, I hold on for dear life. Returning to the topic at hand anyway, the long and short of this study that they did, this experiment, was the conclusion that you should really take advantage of your nose for breathing. And if you don't, then there's a good chance that at some point down the line, you might suffer from some health problems as a result of breathing through your mouth and neglecting your nose. As he moves into the second half of the book, James goes on to explore a variety of different breathing techniques so that he can optimize his breathing ability to make it as good as it can possibly be. And one of the breathing techniques that he talks about and researches is Tummo, which actually has now been made famous. You might be aware of a guy called Wim Hof, the Iceman himself. And in researching these breathing techniques, James actually finds a monk that can isolate and regulate the temperature in one fingertip, like alone, like separate that temperature from the temperature of the rest of his body just through breath work. Anyway, I think my opinion of Breath should be clear by now. I think it's a great book. It's easy to read. As I said, it's really insightful. You'll learn a lot, not only about breathing techniques, but also about the anatomy of the body and the processes of breathing, the biological processes. And to top that off, at the back of the book, all of the exercises that James sort of like researches and talks to people about and explores throughout the meat of the book, at the end he lists those exercises and shows you how to do them. Now we can move on to the second recommendation of the episode, and as I mentioned at the beginning, the theme continues. So it's all well and good being told that we should be thinking more carefully about our breathing and maybe even implementing some techniques, some specific techniques for breathing. But a lot of these techniques are complicated and life feels short as it is. The days feel really short. How the hell do you get the time to learn how to practice effectively such complicated breathing methods? It's really difficult. And so for that, I am recommending an app called Prana Breath. Prana Breath, as you would be expecting at this point in the episode, is a breathing app. And like most apps, it's got both a free version and a paid version. And I use the free version for now, but when I've looked into it, the paid version is like £3.49 for an entire year. And when I looked at the sort of like the extra material that you get from using the paid version, it kind of makes sense just to do that. But anyway, I'm selling you right at the beginning. Let me tell you what the app is actually about. It's a pleasingly simple app. So what you have is you have a choice of different breathing exercises when you open up the app, each of which are about 7 minutes long. Some of the inbuilt methods or exercises on the app are, I think there's a calm mode, there is power. So if you want to inject some power into your life through breathing, there's also clear mind, there's relaxed. When you press play on one of the exercise modes, you get an animation that will come up on your phone and it will sort of follow your breath. So you follow the animation with your breathing. So it could be like inhale for a certain amount of time and you watch this little animation and then exhale. I'm sure you've encountered something like this if you have experience with maybe a meditation app or another breathing app, or they probably use animations like this to lead you through various practices now, workouts, yoga. You also want, because you probably like, it's a kind of relaxing experience. So to fully relax, especially on the relax mode, you probably don't want to have to be staring at the screen the whole time. So you actually get a sound as well. It's like, oh, oh, oh. I'm a really big fan of Prana, and whilst my personal breathwork habit needs quite a lot more work, I go through phases of doing it for a week and then I stop for a while. I do really think that breathwork is important and it has benefited me. And on occasion, after doing these breathing exercises, I've even had moments of like euphoria where I've just sat smiling with my eyes closed, just tingling all over from breathing alone, which is insane. So yeah, I really recommend you checking Prana Breath out. It is on the Google Play Store because I am an Android guy. I'm sure there is a chance it's not on the Apple Store because I know how strict Apple are with, I guess, people trying to get their applications on the App Store. If you can't find Prana, the competitive nature of the tech world is that there is probably a clone of Prana. There'll be a million breathing apps like this. You just have to pick out the best one and you'll get a similar benefit. You could do it without the app, but the app just makes it a little bit easier. You know, it takes a decision away from you. It takes the thought away from you. Finally then, I'll conclude with one more app called Insight Timer. And whilst not strictly adhering to the theme that I was pushing of breathing, Insight Timer still fits in kind of because it moves within the same circles. It's a meditation app. This episode's already leaning towards the long side, so I'm not going to spend any time telling you about how much I value meditation as a practice. Instead, I'll just tell you about how great Insight Timer is. Insight Timer is an app that assists you in the process of building a meditation practice. And like Prana Breath, it has a free option and it also has a paid option. I actually haven't explored the paid option. I'll explain why in a second. On the app, you have a choice of guided meditation, or you can just use the timer itself. And the timer is as simple as it sounds. It's just like the timer on your clock app on your phone. You just press start and then it gives you 20 minutes and then all it does is just ring a bell at the end, which is actually quite pleasant, interestingly. I think there's something to that because they hit a gong if you actually meditate in like a retreat or in an actual Buddhist center. So I generally just use the timer, and that is why I haven't moved on to the pro version of the app. If I was into guided meditation a bit more, perhaps I would have, because Insight Timer just has hundreds of various teachers doing different styles of meditation. And I don't completely reject the practice of guided meditation. I like to meditate in silence because I just find it's better for me. I'm quite easily distracted, so someone's voice will often bring me out of the practice. But when my meditation practice is a little bit wayward, I find that guided meditations are a great course corrector. As well as that, actually, we're all very different people. I spoke about it a few videos ago. I was talking about Ryan Holiday's book, Stillness is the Key. And he wrote this entire book talking about the art of stillness and how useful it is in life, and didn't mention meditation once. And the reason for that was that he knew that meditation doesn't really work for him, and also that meditation is kind of obvious now. I mean, I'm not sure how many people actually do it, but it's recommended by everyone. If you want to be less anxious, if you want to be peaceful, calmer, less angry, meditate. That's what they tell you. But meditation doesn't work for everyone. To sit still, try telling someone with attention deficit disorder to just sit still and do nothing for 20 minutes to an hour. It's not happening, and it will just make them feel bad because they can't do something that they are told they should be able to do and is good for them. So moving back to meditation itself, from the general topic of stillness, there are all sorts of types of meditation, and if you want to listen to someone lull you into a calm state, then by all means do guided meditation. So you can do more religious meditations, you can do loving kindness meditations, you can do, I guess, physical awareness meditations where you focus on the body, breathing meditations. It's such an expansive app, and that's why I love it so much. To add to this, one of the best things about Insight Timer, and it's really weird that I consider this one of the best things because I don't tend to use it that much, but Insight Timer has a social aspect to it. What I mean by that is you can add friends on Insight Timer. So it's like I think there's a joke in Silicon Valley, in the tech world, where basically eventually all companies become social media companies if they survive for long enough. So they might start off as a gaming company or, I guess, a computer software company, but eventually the way that they have to survive is to add like a social element to it. I think that's a joke anyway, but Insight Timer did exactly that. They added a social element to this meditation app. And you might say, well, that's not what meditation is about and all this. But what happens on Insight Timer? I don't message anyone. I've got some random people that added me from all over the world. But also there's this lovely feature where when you finish meditating, it brings up a screen and it shows you a list of like 30 people. If you put your location in, it will give you people that are close to you. So for me, it gives me a couple in Brighton and then a bunch in London. And what you can do is you can click on the profile of one of these people and it gives you a preset message, which is just, thanks for meditating to me. Thanks for meditating to me. Thanks for meditating with me. And I'll be honest, I don't tend to do it that much, but when other people do it to me, it's really nice, because it's really nice to know that you and another person simultaneously were both involved in attempting to improve yourselves as human beings, because that is kind of what meditation is. I know purists will say there should be no target to meditation. Meditation is being itself. But for those of us who are perilously self-aware and only on very, very rare occasions move out of our egos and self-awareness, to know that we are sort of at the same time as someone else engaged in the betterment of our humanity, then I just think that's a nice thing. And again, it's on the Google Play Store. I think they're changing that. They're taking the Play out and just calling it the Google Store maybe. It's on I don't like the name Google Play anyway. It's on the Google Store. It should be on the Apple Store, on the App Store. If it's not, I mean, come on Apple, man, just like cut these developers a bit of a break, you weirdos. Okay, cool, that marks the end of episode 12 of the Weekly Wash. And as I kind of revealed towards the end there, the theme was breathing, or I guess overall it was more so that I wanted to introduce some tools for personal peace into your lives. With everything that coronavirus and I guess the political climate as well in all of our countries right now entails, the world has become a bit of an anxiety-ridden place. I guess that has been the direction that we've been going in for a while now. But breathwork, sort of like learning about it through James Nestor's book, but also the use of prana, has sort of induced in me some peaceful states and sort of taken me away from the stress of living at times, and particularly meditation. Meditation is a great tool if you find it useful, and if you do find that it's the right sort of practice of stillness for you. Another one might be walking, by the way, going for short walks on your own. I hope that one or all three of these tools might do something similar for you. I hope they reduce your stress, I hope they reduce your anxiety, and if you're an angry beaver, I hope they reduce a bit of your anger. This has been episode 12 of the Weekly Wash. I'll be back next week for episode 13. Until then, take care.